Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Carmel Lovell, and today I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous little elephant for Easter using Cadbury Creme Eggs. I'll just swap to the other camera now so that you get a better view of my hands. I'm using Cadbury Creme Eggs. You could use anything that's an egg size. And I'm also putting it onto a small little 4-inch cut edge board. These are available in any cake decorating shop. First thing I want to do is make 4 legs. Beautiful thing about these animals is they don't have to be realistic. I've made mine in a lovely purple colour. I'm using coloured marzipan today, but I could use fondant, sugar paste, modelling paste. They all work beautifully. I want to cut 4 fat sausages. So I'm rolling this out using the palm of my hand because that stops you getting too many marks and humps and bumps on your paste. So cut out a leg and use that to measure your next one. So there's 4 legs. Because the elephant has such a long trunk, I want to make sure I put these eggs quite close to the back of my board. I don't want the trunk hanging over the board when it's finished. I'm also going to put these legs quite close together. I'm using some melted chocolate that I have beside me here. I've just put a couple of squares into a mug and I have it standing in a saucepan with some boiling water. It keeps my chocolate nice and soft while I'm working. And I've just put a small paintbrush into it. So there's my 4 legs. I now want to add my egg. So I'm just putting a little dab of chocolate. Don't use too much or you'll find everything slides. Put my egg on the top, pressing it down slightly to make sure it's well secured. I'm putting the egg, so the fatter part of the egg is at the back because that will make the bottom. I'm going to make his head and trunk out of 1 piece of paste. So this is a great way of making things that they don't fall to bits afterwards. So I'm starting with a really good size ball. This is about the size of a small tomato. I'm going to roll this into a nice long cone. So to do that, you use a couple of fingers. Don't touch the back of the ball. And if you move 2 hands at the same time, you will end up thinning the cone. And if you look, it's lovely and tapered. That's what we're looking for. That's plenty long enough for his trunk. I'm going to turn this upside down and using the scissors, I'm just going to cut out a mouth. Turn that down nicely. So you can see that's his mouth. I need to open up his trunk, stick the back of a paintbrush and give it a wiggle. So that's opened up nicely. And then place the paintbrush across the trunk, side to side. And that gives those nice lips. You see that from the side? It's almost like a U. I need to put some eyes in this, and most animals have the eyes at the side of their head. So I'm just pushing my paintbrush in to give a nice big socket. I'll use a knife to just put a few marks across my trunk. It just adds a bit to realness. I'm going to bend his trunk quite high because I think it looks quite pretty and it also will help it to stay on the board. Now before I stick his head on, I find it's best to make his ears because sticking the ears on at the same time helps keep his head in place. So I'm using a ball of paste about twice the size of my thumb. Cut it in half. Anytime you want 2 of something the same size, cut a ball in half. I'm making those back into a ball so they're about the same size. Another cone shape for the ear. And take your finger and just flatten that nicely. Okay. And squeeze the sides a bit to make it just a little bit wider. And that's my ear shape. So again, back into the cone shape. These are the basic, a ball, a cone, and a sausage are the basic shapes for all modelling. Flatten my second ear. So because I started with the same size bit of paste, I've ended up with two ears that are just about the same. I've got to make sure that I put his head right on top of his body. If you try to stick it on the end, what happens is it'll fall off. You want the head to kind of go over the legs. It's a better chance of it staying on because the center of gravity is in the right place. So I put some chocolate on there, and I'm also going to put some chocolate on the top of the ear and at the back of the ear. Place his head on. Sometimes you'll need to, let's cool it down a bit. Sometimes you'll need to balance that on something. I'll show you in a minute if the ears don't hold it on. I'm putting his ear, just turn this around because I need 4 hands for this with the camera. Can you see the way I put the ear against the body? And that will help hold the head on. I just, again, hold this. You'll have seen me do this in other videos. Hold that to about the count of 5. And that helps that chocolate to set. And it means the head will stay on. Again, I'm putting a little bit of chocolate on the top and a little bit of chocolate on the back. That small bit at the back is going to stick to the body. So let me turn this around. And I'm going to put this ear. Again, it comes right to the top of the head. And hold it. If you've got excess chocolate, I can see a little bit of chocolate coming out there. Just use a paintbrush to take that off. It comes off quite easily at this stage while it's still soft. Sometimes when you put the ears on, they move slightly. And there you can see that's the basis of my little elephant. I'm going to use a little bit of royal icing to fill the eyes. If you don't have any royal icing, you can use a tiny bit of sugar paste or modelling paste. I find if I'm doing several animals, it's easier to just have a bag with some icing in it. Just squeeze a little bit of white to fill up those little holes. Whoops. There we go. I'm just going to dab that down to make sure it's flat. Okay, that's my little elephant. Just needs a tail. So to do the tail, I'm going to start with the ball, make it into a long cone where one end is slightly narrower than the other. Put it down and squash the fat end with your finger. Take a butter knife or something that's not too sharp, and I'm just cutting that so it looks like hair. Squash it back into shape, and that's my little tail. So I will put some chocolate on his bottom to make sure that this tail will stick. And add the tail. Again, hold it to about the count of 5 and it should stay on beautifully. I'll just give this one a little hat and paint the eyes. I'm using a very fine brush and a tiny bit of water. I'm using a paste colour. This is Sugar Flare colours. I'm just going to take a little bit out and put it on the side of my cup or a saucer so I don't have too much. Paint a pupil on, and when you're painting the pupils, make sure that you paint both looking in one direction, because if you try and put them straight ahead, it ends up cross-eyed. There we go. So he's looking over that way. This is quite nice. If you do several animals, you can put them so that they're looking at each other. So there's my little elephant awaiting his Easter bonnet. I'm going to give this one quite a big hat. Got some nice yellow. And just put him down there so I don't knock him. I'm going to roll this out, and I'm using a nice blossom cutter to make this hat. He looks great in a top hat. If you watch my pig video, you'll see how to make a little top hat. Stick his hat on the top. Tiny bit of chocolate. You see, that also covers up that join where my ears were. So if I have any chocolate there that I don't want, it's well hidden now. I give this, I quite like more than one layer on this hat because it's quite a good size hat. Sometimes I would just add a little pom-pom on the top, but today I'm going to use a smaller blossom cutter to cut out a second flower. This is marzipan, so they'll just stick together nicely because it's nice and fresh. If they don't stick together, use a tiny speck of water or a tiny speck of chocolate. And I'll just give them a yellow pom-pom on the top of that. So I'm just making a tiny little ball and put it on the top. He's got a very elegant, this is a little girl, very elegant little hat. You can see the two colours look very well. I will add a couple of eggs around this. You could make a tree trunk or something underneath his chin if you wanted to. I'm using Terry's mini orange eggs and Cadbury's mini eggs to stick on. So I'm going to put a good few eggs just along the front of them. I'm sticking these down with chocolate. When you've stuck these down, try not to pick up the board straight away because sometimes they can roll off, as you will have seen in one of my other videos. So it's no harm to leave them to set. I'll put one of these vibrant orange eggs. These are the Terry's orange ones. They're so bright, perfect for springtime. And a nice pink egg. There we are. So I've got them surrounded by eggs. Just put another one over there, I think. Got a nice yellow one. So just put a blob of chocolate down and stick the egg in. That looks lovely. So that's my finished little elephant. Very cute and quite quick to make. I hope you've enjoyed this video and we'll come back to look at some of my other animals.